So concept albums are good. That's what we're talking about. Fuck it. I've always loved concept albums, especially rock operas, and I got to a point in my life where I said, this is something that I have to do, and so I did it. In this video, I'm gonna be talking about the time me and my band wrote and recorded a concept album, the positive and negative aspects of writing an album in this way, and how you can try to make the best concept album that you can. That's the video. Let's go. I've got a cold again. I don't know how it happened. So this might be nonsensical, but we're gonna go for it, okay? I'm James from Find the Ghost. This is Making Stuff Am Haunted, and today we're talking about writing and recording and releasing a concept album / rock opera. Let's fucking go. All right, so a bit of background before I start talking about this. I think the first time I realized that storytelling in music was a thing was when I heard Stan by Eminem. Yeah, I was a white boy in the 2000s. Of course I fucking listened to Eminem. When I was a teenager, I really got into Eminem for a time, and when I revisited Stan, a song that I had heard in my childhood, I went, oh shit, there's like a story to this. There's like a plot with characters. And I knew, obviously, that songs could have plots and themes and such, but Stan was the first time I'd actually noticed that it felt like an actual story. For example, Bohemian Rhapsody is one of the best songs ever fucking written. When you're listening to it, it's not like, yeah, and here's act one of the story, and here's the next part, and then this is where the character does this, and then this happens. There's a clear like vibe coming off the song, but there's not like a plot. And when I heard Stan, I was like, oh shit, music can have plots to them. It can be like watching a little film in your mind while listening to the song. And there was like a void in the music that I was listening to because I wanted more things like that. Not specifically just hip hop storytelling, of which I know there is a lot, but also just like music I could really get into that would have stories. Enter the Protomen. So in about 2011, I discovered this band called the Protomen, and they very quickly became one of my favorite bands. In fact, this album, not this specific copy, but this album is the first piece of music I ever bought for myself with my own money. And it's basically a rock opera saga over many albums. Even like their cover albums are in the lore of this. And it's all about like a gritty reimagining of the Mega Man video games. Because I was a fucking nerd in the 2010s. I listened to your Dwayne and Brandos and your The Megas and all of these things. But the Protomen stood out to me because not only was there a plot, but there were fucking characters, and it came with a script, and it told you what was happening in every song. If you haven't heard the Protomen, this is your wake-up call. Fucking get out there now and listen to it. This album really, and obviously the second album, The Father of Death, and hopefully the third album whenever that comes out, this showed me that, rock operas existed, and you could tell a full story with characters and plot events and all of these things over the course of 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour, whatever. And that sort of became my gateway drug to other rock operas that I really got into. Obviously, rock operas of the time, like American Idiot by Green Day. I fucking love American Idiot. I can't believe humans wrote this. It's great. Later on, I went back, along the timeline, discovering older rock albums that had storylines and concepts. One of my favorites being Jeff Wayne's The War of the Worlds. This is amazing. I love it. And the packaging is fucking beautiful. It comes with a booklet with images from every song. So you get a visual representation of what is happening in the story. This is gonna be important for later. All of this over the years led me to discovering what is now my favorite album of all time, from my favorite band of all time, and the album that I heard that really made me say, okay, I need to write a rock opera concept album at one point in my life. My Chemical Romance's The Black Parade. Amazing. It's all I can fucking say. So in 2014, my band Smoking Rings was finishing up our first album. So we were preparing for the second album. We were starting to come up with loose song ideas, and in my head I was like, okay, it's now or never. This is the time when I have to make a concept album because this is the time. It might be now or never. This might be the last chance we ever get. So So I started to like sketch out rough ideas of what I wanted the themes and the story to be. I knew that the basic idea, story-wise, was that I wanted the whole album to take place over one night. I was fascinated with the idea that one night can change your life forever. It's such a common thing in popular culture, in like movies and stuff, and in even just the idea of like, this night's gonna be the best night of your life. I like the idea that something in your, like something could change your life so much that it's not like, well, this has been a mad year, or like this series of events affected me. No, to the point where it's like everything about who I am today can be traced back to one night of my life. I just think that's fascinating as a concept. I also knew that I wanted some horror and sci-fi elements in there because I love horror and sci-fi. And all this time as well, you've got visuals and characters in your head that you're trying to bring form to, because again, I think it's very important that a concept record has a strong visual element to it as well, even though the sound is the most important thing, because it's the album. If you haven't got a good album, then who fucking gives a shit? It works together as part of this whole, because when a band that you love releases a concept album, it feels like something extra has been put into it. Like, these aren't just songs about like, here's the song about us on the road, or here's the song about my girlfriend. It's like, no. Thought has been put into a plot and characters and a universe and a world or whatever for this. And that just makes it feel like an event. Again, it makes it feel like a movie's coming out that you get to watch in your head. So speaking of movies, I went back to some of my favorites, which I have here. The World's End, 2013. I love this movie. This might be one of my favorite movies of all time. Again, it's about a group of friends who spend a night out as teenagers, and it changes one of their lives, and then he gets them all back together to revisit the places they went to on that night. And some spooky things happen. It's very good. I like it. The other film is one of my favorite films of all time, despite what it is. I love Cloverfield. I think Cloverfield is one of the best movies. I think we'd do a Cloverfield renaissance. But this was a big thing. Like, friends out partying in a city, something goes wrong. Like, Cloverfield is all over the concept album that I wrote. I should introduce the concept album that I wrote. We came up with the title, Hollow City, and that is what the album was gonna be called. And it was gonna be a story about 4 friends who go on a night out, and they have to deal with not only their own interpersonal dramas between themselves, but some form of demonic entity which is destroying the town unbeknownst to them because they're really drunk. I've actually got my little booklet here that I wrote a lot of the album in. We would start writing the songs, and I would write guides of the track list of which character is singing each of the songs so that I would know whose perspective I was showing. I also had the character guide, the couple guide, so it's like the different characters, who is in love with who ends up killing who. But in my head, I'm building this whole universe and all of these characters and like what they're feeling and what they're going through and what they're gonna come across on this night. And it was very important for me to have like a clear guide of this world aside from the music. This might not be for everyone, like everyone who writes a concept album might not do this, but for me it was extremely helpful because one of the big pros of writing concept albums, in my point of view, it gives you like a crutch to build your lyrics on when you're writing. Like, hey, in this song, this character is singing and I need to move them from here to here. That can be very helpful. At the same time, it's important not to lose track of, you're trying to write good songs, you're trying to write a good album, and the story can't overpower the track list, and the track list can't overpower the story. We'll talk about this later when I get to the cons. It also affects the songwriting from the point of view of not just the lyricist or whoever's coming up with the story, but the rest of the band. The other guys really wanted to get in on like crafting it and crafting the sound, and also making sure that there were like musical leitmotifs that would show up, that the like when the track list was starting to be established, that the songs would not necessarily fade into each other, but work together, like feel like it's flowing naturally from each other, that nothing sort of catches you off guard. One thing you have to be careful of is what I mentioned before, making sure the track list helps the story, but also the story helps the track list. We had songs that maybe we wouldn't have put in the places that they were, but they had to be there because of the chronology of the story. We were stuck in a situation where we said, well, this is just how the order has to go. We had a song called Sunglasses, which didn't really fit in the plot, and we decided that it would go after the last song chronologically, Jesus. It would go after the last song chronologically on the album, and it's sort of like, it's the credits theme, it's the post-credits scene, you know what I mean? So honestly, once you get into the studio, it's sort of up to you to decide how far you want to go with things in like the soundscape. For me, it all depended on what worked best for the story. So we used sound effects in some songs. There's a car crash. There's you know, fire at the beginning of the story of the album Hollow City that we did. There's a fire that breaks out at a hospital, and it's a supernatural fire, and it spreads all across the city. So we wanted like this like air raid siren. So we found like a synth that had a very similar vibe to it, so that it was still technically an instrument in the song. There's loads of fucking things like that you can do. It all depends on what you personally want to do. For characters, we also had some friends of ours come in to do some extra vocals. We all did end up doing vocals on the songs, even if it was just like backing vocals and harmonies and stuff. So I've talked about before the importance of visuals in a concept album, in my opinion, and I think they are super important. And we wanted them to be like at the forefront. We wanted music videos that tied into the story. We wanted all like the promotional material to tie into the story. We wanted the concerts to tie into the story. And we quickly realized that that's not impossible, but difficult. The story, you know, has a lot of characters, a lot of events, a hospital getting set on fire, a car chase, a car crash, everyone fucking dying, spoilers. And, you know, we wanted to represent all of this in videos, in artwork, in all these things. And it, you know, it adds a complication, and it's something else that needs to be thoroughly planned out. So this is gonna be like the trailer to a movie that doesn't exist. And we're gonna have all these characters, and we wanna summarize the entire plot of the album in like 3 minutes. How the fuck did we do this? It was like a 12-hour shoot. We started at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon and finished at 4 o'clock in the morning. But we did a lot of cool things for the music videos, and tried to get in as many like Easter eggs of the story that we possibly could. And like we brought in like our friends to play the characters, which was fun. Even when it comes to the packaging of the release, we didn't go as far as the Protomen to have like descriptions of what each character was doing, but we wanted to make sure that each song was represented with like a small icon that explained basically where the characters were. We also got this beautiful piece of fucking artwork done. I don't know how well you'll be able to see it. We've got this beautiful piece of artwork done. The hospital on fire and the car that they're in. Miguel's mum did this. Miguel, the guitarist of the band. His mum painted this for us, and it's fucking amazing. I love it. We also originally wanted all of the live shows to tie... I think I've like moved from the center of the screen. I might have been easing that way the whole time. Sorry if I have. We also wanted the live shows to tie into the theme. So we did the release show, because we filmed the music video in the same venue where we played the release show. So it was like a place inside the canon of the story. And we wanted to go through the whole album in order. And we had costume changes though. And we had like little bits of fabric that were like the fire. We did quickly realize that doing that for every single show would be fucking really difficult. So that was sort of a one-off thing we did. And when we toured the album later the next year, we just played normal shows. We didn't do the costume changes. But yeah, all this culminated in the album existing and being real and being something that I'm very proud of and happy about. And what sort of indie musician would I be if I didn't say that the entire album is linked in the description below to stream on Spotify, here on YouTube, on every streaming service. It's only half an hour long. I would love it if you gave it a listen and let me know if you think we pulled off telling a good concept within that time. Even though like, because I mean, I remember filming the music video and being like, next time I have a concept, it's just gonna be a guy in a white fucking room. Like, we're never doing anything this complicated again. I would recommend it to anyone who is thinking about doing it, because it's so fun to figure out the intricacies of the story and the characters and how you're gonna weave that into the songs. Just the balance, I would say, is the biggest positive and the biggest negative that I would, and the biggest reason why I would recommend it to anyone. And I don't really have much else to say. So I hope this video was helpful for someone. Now fuck off.
Dead eyes, so she can't read between the lines. Was an optimistic girl, but misplaced in space on time. Yes, she's got dead eyes. She never knew she was divine. Was an optimistic girl, but I think
where's my mic? Oh my God, I got scared then. I thought I hadn't been wearing it. I've definitely been wearing it. I've definitely been recording. Fucking hell.